Hi everyone, I'm Matt from Look Into Bitcoin, and today we're going to be looking at Bitcoin's energy consumption. To do this, we'll be using a number of resources that are all freely available on lookintobitcoin.com, your number one source for Bitcoin information. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to ensure you're receiving all of our content as soon as it's released. So right now we're just here on the Bitcoin hash rate chart here on Look Into Bitcoin. And if we just zoom in, we can actually see that recently the 7-day moving average of the Bitcoin hash rate just reached a new all-time high of nearly 380 million terahashes. So very high, very secure network, but what does this actually mean? Obviously 380 million terahashes sounds astronomical, but what does that actually mean? How much energy does this actually use? A lot of people are very keen to discuss Bitcoin's energy consumption and its potential negative effects on the planet, but today we're going to explore that a little bit more in depth and see what it all actually means. So here I'm on a pretty nice site actually from the University of Cambridge, which provides a great overview of the network energy usage of Bitcoin, as well as the greenhouse gas emissions and other metrics for the Bitcoin energy consumption and the network that it runs on. So we can see here that the estimated terawatt hours annually for the Bitcoin network is 138.59. So pretty high, but in comparison to other things, is this exponentially high? How can we actually gain some insight into what these numbers actually mean? If we look at some comparisons here, we can see compared to global countries, we can see that the total consumption of terawatt hours globally is 26,730, which is a lot for electricity, I guess. We can see Bitcoin's taking up 0.62% of that. And for total energy consumption globally, we're at 167,716 terawatt hours, and Bitcoin's taking up 0.21% of that. But what we can do is then compare this to other things. So Bitcoin's often referred to as a digital gold, and we can see that the energy usage in Bitcoin mining actually surpasses the energy consumption of gold mining. So obviously Bitcoin mining is taking up a fairly substantial amount of energy globally, but if we compare this to a number of things such as air conditioning energy usage globally, Bitcoin is actually a very relatively small amount of energy usage. What we can then also do is compare the Bitcoin energy usage to countries. It comes in ranking here between Ukraine and Malaysia with its terawatt hours per year. And if we just go for a logarithmic scale compared to global countries, we can see here China being ranked 1, followed by the United States, and Bitcoin's coming in as the 27th highest country in terms of energy usage. But energy usage isn't the only thing we really need to be looking at when looking into Bitcoin mining. Really, the more important metric to look at, in my opinion, is the greenhouse gas emissions. Because if something is using a huge amount of electricity, but it's all renewable energy, then really it's not too bad, in my opinion. If anything, it's driving more evolution in the sector by forcing more advancements in the renewable space. So we can see here that Bitcoin's estimated emissions is about 70.22 million tons of CO2 annually. But really, you have to keep in mind that this isn't an exact calculation. It's going to be impossible to actually calculate the emissions produced by each different miner globally. So all we can do really here is get a general estimate, but we can see it's about 50% of if we were purely mining Bitcoin just using coal as the main source of power for driving these Bitcoin miners, but significantly higher than if it was only using hydroelectric dams, which produces the least amount of greenhouse gases. What we can do again is just go down here on this site and get a few more comparisons. And if we just go to a comparison compared to certain countries and other general comparisons we can use for this, we can see that while we saw before Bitcoin's electricity consumption globally would put it 27th ranked in countries of the world, but in terms of actual greenhouse gas emissions, it's way down there in 70th. So it really points towards the fact that Bitcoin is using a huge amount of renewable energy to actually mine and secure the Bitcoin network. Again, if we go down here, global world emissions is 49,758.23 million tons compared to Bitcoin's 70.22, which puts greenhouse gas emissions at just 0.14% for securing the Bitcoin network. And like we saw previously, Bitcoin actually uses more electricity than gold mining, but gold mining really can't be too renewable energy efficient, and especially compared to Bitcoin, which is substantially lower than gold mining. As a comparison, as store of values, maybe Bitcoin is a little bit better for the planet compared to gold mining, especially once you consider the damage gold mining actually does to the underlying area which the gold mining is actually taking place. And again, we can just scroll down here and see that compared to a lot of things, Bitcoin really comes as a pretty small impact on global emissions. Something like tobacco, which takes up substantially more. What we can do is look to articles like this and news events that give us a little bit more reassurance that Bitcoin's energy consumption, while it may increase the actual impact on the globe in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, probably isn't going to increase at an alarming rate, because we can see news events like this with El Salvador unleashing volcano energy with 241 megawatt planned Bitcoin mining operation announced only a few days ago. So countries like El Salvador, which have actually nationally adopted and are accumulating Bitcoin with its central bank reserves, are actually deploying volcano mining operations to try and accumulate Bitcoin for pretty much next to nothing, because while obviously there is going to be an upfront cost for producing the hardware to mine Bitcoin, this energy isn't actually going anywhere. This is all renewable energy that would otherwise go to waste. We can even see articles here by the World Economic Forum about how blockchain and cryptocurrencies can actually help build a green future. Because while we've done all of these comparisons about the greenhouse gas emissions and the energy usage of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, we should really take into account the energy usage of our existing financial system. A lot of people fail to actually take into account that banking infrastructure and everything required to keep our traditional finance system running actually far outpaces the negative impact of cryptocurrencies. We can look to articles like this one from The Guardian, a British newspaper, which goes over the fact that British banks are financing 805 million tons of CO2 production each year. So the banking sector isn't any more innocent than cryptocurrencies or Bitcoin. If anything, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are proving to be considerably more environmentally friendly than any other financial alternatives we currently have when looking at traditional banking systems or gold as currencies. Especially if we take into consideration, like we said, the calculations that we previously looked at were just estimates. And according to this article, some of those estimates may have been a little bit underwhelming and unsupportive of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining. This article goes over the fact that over 50% of Bitcoin mining is done by renewable energies, and the number is only continuing to increase. And if we look like data such as this one, which outlines that apparently 7.8% of all global energy is just going to unallocated fuel combustion, really I don't think it's necessarily a Bitcoin energy usage problem we have, but if anything, it's a global inefficiency of our energy allocations. If other countries can take a page out of El Salvador's book, for example, and use volcano energy or natural gas flare energy, or just general make more efficient use cases of energy that we're potentially wasting through traditional means, then maybe Bitcoin mining can be done in a very, very sustainable and environmentally friendly way, especially one compared to other stores of value and means of peer-to-peer transactions like the traditional finance system and gold. So just to summarize, one of the more vocal criticisms of Bitcoin is the energy required to secure and allow the network to operate utilizing its proof of work consensus. And in spite of Bitcoin's high energy consumption, there are actually many positives that are often overlooked, such as the incentive for renewable energy use and the increase in energy efficiency. If you're a country or a miner that has access to hydroelectric dams or a great degree of efficient solar-powered energy, that energy is substantially cheaper than using oil or coal or any other non-renewable means of fuels. So if anything, this is driving innovation in these sectors by creating more demand for this renewable energy. And in relative terms, BTC energy consumption isn't a cause for concern, especially considering the energy required for traditional banking systems or gold mining operations. Really, for a decentralized peer-to-peer currency that provides as much use as Bitcoin, really there's no need to be worried or really have too much of a concern about Bitcoin's energy usage. And like we discussed, this is likely only going to get better. Even if the energy consumption increases, the greenhouse gas emissions are likely to decrease as we see a great general shift towards the use of renewable energies. If you like this video, then please visit lookintobitcoin.com, where you can also consider becoming a site subscriber to gain access to live charts, in-depth newsletters, indicator alerts, private TradingView scripts, and more, or for a fraction of the standard industry price. And let me know in the comments down below and on social media, are you concerned about Bitcoin's energy consumption? Do you think there maybe should be a shift towards Bitcoin going to a proof of stake consensus where it would substantially reduce the energy consumption but would also have its own cons, such as potentially not so distributed efficiency and verification of transactions and reserves on the network? There are, of course, some pros and cons to all of this, but again, let me know in the comments and on social media your thoughts on Bitcoin's energy usage. I look forward to reading and replying to all of them. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.